Hello there, I'm Xios, and I've apparently forgotten to set up my character thing. Bear with me. I think I'm good.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
There we go. There's a little me. One of that. Gonna take-
And I am the phantom voice of serpent.
Where do I want to be?
The phantom voice of serpent. Who knows
Oh,
what evil
you want to
lurks in the
collab?
heart of
Okay.
men?
I didn't know you were gonna be able to, huh?
I mean, yes, I might just have to take a break to cook a little bit.
Take myself down there. What just happened? Oh, it opened up in Firefox, just causing an error. Shoot. Eh. Open Chrome.
What you're talking about, I'm doing fine.
Eh. Serpent over there, taking control of the street, turning me into a blocks.
Poof, you are block.
Oh, I think I clicked the wrong button. I misunderstood the prompt. There you go. I resent the
Grumble, grumble.
invite. Ah. The giant serpent sensor bar is back. There we go.
Sorry, I'm too hot for television. Or streaming, or whatever the fuck we're doing.
As I down my drink in one gulp. Okay, so I found a very lucrative gold mine, or silver mine, I should say. I'll be working on that a little bit until I've deemed I have enough money.
Is it ever enough?
Eh, you know.
The dragon sickness is upon me.
I blame the hawk.
I also blame Dahak.
Hello, beautiful. The Serpent's busy with another project, but they're also cooking at the moment, so they won't have a review of. They're not playing the game.
Correct. I only see the game the way that the watchers see the game.
And I would be doing Who Killed Sonic the Hedgehog, but I don't want to lose my voice today, and it's already struggling to hold a coffin. I don't know if it's allergies or I am getting a cold. On, stop being mass sloth. Oh.
Frameshift drive charging.
You are now clear of station perimeter. Have a good flight, Commander.
I missed that pizza already. So I just finished leftovers today.
Absence makes the heart grow hungrier. Is that how that works?
Like them having unlimited toppings included in the deal makes me miss the days when toppings was only like 25 cents, 50 cents.
Right.
Not a dollar, $1.50 or $3 sometimes now. God. Funny though. It was only like 10, 15 years ago. And even back then, it being 25 cents or 50 cents, we still were complaining that, well, I don't know if having extra cheese or sauce is worth 50 cents.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah, I hear
definitely
you.
isn't worth now when it's like $2. But it's like strange though, because them having the pizza deal at $9.99, they're still making a profit. They can do that for 2 months, right?
Yeah, and it's bringing more people to eat at Domino's, which is something that they have been struggling with. Like
So
it's win-win.
it's not like it's something that they weren't able to do. They just wanted more greed by charging the absurd prices.
Absolutely, and this is true for most sections of industry. Not all, but most. You know, they'll talk about narrow profit margins. No. What makes the profit margins so narrow is the excessive salaries they're giving to the executives.
I'll never understand business like that because you make it so hard to afford it, which means people don't want to buy it. People don't want to buy it means you don't make as much of a profit.
So, if you're a sociopathic monster,
uh,
then the goal would be to maximize profit, and who the fuck cares about anybody else if you were a sociopathic monster? So at that point, it is a sort of calculus where you want the price to be as high, or rather, you want the total intake to be as high as possible. The higher you make the price, the more you get per unit, but also the fewer units you sell because fewer people can afford it. There is a sweet spot for any given product where you balance that enough to make the maximum amount of of profit per quarter that you possibly can make. That is what you do if you're a sociopathic monster. If you're a horribly incompetent sociopathic monster, however, you'll just keep jacking up the price because more price equals more money and stonks go up. The problem is that hardly any executives know any fucking thing about basic capitalism anymore. Like, we have moved so far beyond basic capitalism, the basic lessons of capitalism, about supply and demand and everything like that. I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism. But there are basic principles that, if you understand it, can help you survive in a market. And we currently have executives that just bludgeon things with more money and do not understand at all anything about sustainable markets or anything about growing customer service or anything like that. They only see the dollar signs. And they don't even look at the dollar signs long term. They only see the dollar signs in the short term. And we're seeing all these companies shoot themselves in the foot because they no longer understand how to do business. Because they have hired tech bros who are used to scamming people out of money, scamming investors out of money.
And it's find it weird because usually people have to go to business school for like years, don't they? And
Well, and
what were
these
they
people are
doing?
going to business school. These people are going to business school, and they're just not learning anything. Although in some cases, like, you know how Silicon Valley fucking loves the success story of, I dropped out of college and started a company in my mom's basement with nothing except the $5 million my parents lent me.
Yeah,
You know?
Nepo babies.
Yeah. Silicon Valley fucking loves that story. That's Bill Gates' story. That's Steve Jobs' story. So there are people who just aren't going to college and aren't learning the slightest thing about economics. And there are other people who are going to diploma mill colleges where they're not actually learning anything. But there's other people who are going to excellent colleges and still not learning anything because they don't know how to learn, or they have no desire to, depending on how much malice and how much incompetence you
Permission
want to cite.
authorized. Cleared to land on pad 3-9er. Automated docking assist is now in progress.
So you have the combination. They are sociopathic enough to not care a bit about other people, and they are incompetent enough to not be good at exploiting other people. And that is a dangerously potent combination because it will wreck
Landing
markets.
gear deployed.
It's a running gag that the biggest problem with economics as an academic subject is that it assumes rational actors, when we know for a fact that people in the market are not rational.
Like, my favorite example of showing how it's good to price things. This game called Second Life, which Twitch hates, and one of the developers was Linda Laz, but there's this company in Second Life that run a fashion industry, Bear Rose. They priced everything. The 100 lindens was like 10 cents or so, something like that,
Yeah,
and they made
pocket
it
change.
affordable to like everyone. That allowed them to be able to have like 3 or 4 Sims running in their heyday, and Sims were like a couple of $100 per month to rent out. They were essentially your own private server, and everyone can act.
Now you can probably go uh, further than that and charge a little bit more
Yeah,
and still be fine. But
but
Cargo hold
it
at
used to be that
maximum
people that, like,
capacity.
when I was working retail, they'd always talk about how one good review, or one bad review rather, is more powerful than 10 good reviews. Um, and how important it was for the customer to enjoy their experience. And that was basic stuff. And of course, it's wrapped up with retail, which is a horrible, horrible thing to work at. Working at retail is hell. But like, that used to be the guiding thing, and it seems like now they don't care who they piss off as long as they squeeze more money out.
yeah,
That's not sustainable. It is not a sustainable system.
like one of the better things about them making it that cheap though is everyone was wearing the clothing. Anytime someone asks where can I get some decent looking cheap clothing, they would refer them to Bear Rose, and
It
that just
becomes
sent more
ubiquitous.
and more traffic.
Landing gear
This is
retracted.
what's supposed to happen with
Ship
competition
released.
in
Follow the
capitalism.
greens on your way out.
If somebody shows up and they price things cheaply, everybody else either has to lower the price to meet theirs, or they have to provide better quality to justify a higher price. Those are the two things that are supposed to happen. What is happening instead is conglomeration and monopolies and collusion, which is illegal, but it happens anyways, and nobody's going to sue them. So.
I am going to be taking this to another station in the system. I want to see if I can streamline my profits. I just got the silver, the gold, and the palladium for like 3,000 to 4,000 each. See if I don't have to travel as far.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Feels a weird segue to be talking about douchebag marketing bros while I talk about my own profits.
But your profits come from being a merchant. There is a difference in the Conquest of Bread, which is a marvelous piece of leftist economic theory that everybody should read, if only to be familiar with it. But in the Conquest of Bread, Kropotkin has a part where he talks about merchants, and he basically says, if the merchant is somebody who's just paying somebody else to go and ship and buy goods, well, that's terrible. The merchant isn't actually doing anything. But if the merchant is the one who takes the journey and goes through the effort of delivering the goods from one market to another, then that merchant is doing the work and doing the vital work that the society needs. And so Kropotkin basically said we should be treasuring that merchant. And in Elite Dangerous, that's the kind of merchant you are. You're actually taking the risk and actually doing the travel and paying for fuel and loading up your cargo and all that stuff. You're not just paying somebody else to do it. One day, hopefully, we will not live in such a capitalist hellscape. But as long as we do, you know, we gotta eat. Which means we gotta make money. The important thing is that we're making money based on what we do, not based on what we own. It's when you're making lots of money just because you have a piece of paper saying you own something and you're not actually doing any work, that's where things start getting bad.
And us needing to eat is the only reason why we have that sponsor on our other channel.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, and honestly, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, we recommend a lot of games that we love, right? Who don't sponsor us. The only reason we take sponsors at all is because we have to eat. And hopefully we can get sponsors where we actually believe in the product and we think they're doing a good job and all that. But, like, if we didn't need to eat, we wouldn't be taking paid sponsors. We'd just be recommending the games we like.
Yeah.
But we do need to eat. That's part of it.
Well, that's a fancy looking scene. At least the lights are.
Sorgan Peterson, Kilo Uniform, David. Please ensure you follow standard docking procedures before landing. Access authorized. Proceed to Bay 02. You are approved for automated...
I was given the second landing pad.
Yes.
Usually you're given like 42 or 69 or something.
Fancy. I appreciate the numbers that you use as decorations, but don't think I missed that.
They weren't like intentional. Those are just numbers that come to mind.
Yeah, it's the numbers you immediately think of. I dig it.
Landing gear deployed.
Docking successful. Ground crew dispatched. It's good to have you with us, Commander.
Much do you... I make a little bit less, but it's a lot shorter of a run. Actually,
Depends on
that's a
how much
lot
shorter
less.
and how much less time it's going to cost you. Like if
That's
you're
gonna
just doing the
cost me
runs back and
about
forth.
10 mil.
Well, I mean, if you're just doing the run back and forth, how much time is it going to? What time difference is it between a round trip? Because that's the real question.
I
Is
don't know.
how much profit you can make in a given time period.
Because this is back and forth in the same system. The other has to take 3 jumps and then go to a pretty far station at the day list.
So let's say 2 minutes a jump. 3 jumps is 6 minutes, and then maybe another 5 to go through the whole docking process. So if you just go full out, you can maybe do twice as many runs if you go full out and don't delay. And that's just an estimate. But it seems like the shorter ones in there, depending on how far it is in the system,
Incoming message.
because your super cruise is going to take you time too. But that's what it ends up boiling down to, is time.
Trying to see if there's anything I can give real time. Make 30 credits at the evacuate. Oh, that's
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
station do friendly. Yeah. The Black Widows like me.
They're a pirate gang, aren't they?
Look, I don't question things anymore.
No, I mean we're very highly liked by a dictatorship in the game, so it's like if everyone's paying.
Uh,
I'm starting to get to the point where I care more about the politics, but like that's a later stage game thing. The early stage game, you just gotta work for whoever pays.
Disengage from
Something
landing
that we
pad.
know well.
Maintain correct lane on exit.
I gotta get rid of this power play stuff in my inventory. It's taking up valuable cargo space. Yeah, I made enough in this run to buy an upgraded jump drive, engineer it. Same with my thrusters.
Frameshift
Same
drive
with my
charging.
fuel shift drive.
4, 3, 2, 1.
It's been nice. The wolves of Jonai love us so much.
Yes, Those are the dictators that I referred to earlier.
Wait, no, they're starting to not like me as much. I guess because I sold to someone they don't like.
I had. Have you looked at the what is it called? BGS rules, background simulation rules?
No.
People have written guides about it, and like a starter guide is about as much as a guide in any other game. And if you go into the advanced guides, these are like books explaining how the background simulation works. Like, it is so elaborate.
I'm sorry, Xios has a few, it only has one brain cell. They don't have enough to handle that.
Well, most of it's pretty intuitive. You do missions for them; they like you. You you attack ships that are, part of their thing. They don't like you. You bring trade to stations they control. They like you. You take trade away from stations they control. They don't like you. You know how it is. Most
But
of it's
me,
pretty intuitive.
me doing one trade, not with them, made me go from like infamously love want my children to oh you're kind of nice.
Are you sure you didn't get hit by somebody who's wanted who belonged to the Wolves of Jonai or something like that?
No, because all I've been doing is this. I have not gotten combat.
Clear for approach to pad 10. Clear for automated approach vectoring.
This one can trust. Nix right now is like wondering, fuck, why'd you move me away from the front of the fan? I was sitting in a box in front of it, blocking it.
Landing gear deployed.
Contact. Deploying ground services.
Oh, you lied, game. Shit, now I gotta find some place to sell that. This is not selling for as much as it said it was. Eh. I had just that. Gonna fly to another system anyway to get rid of this power play crap. Do unaligned. My god, the amount of places that are connected to here, I can't see anything. Oh, I just realized you're not blurry anymore.
Landing gear retracted.
But,
Ship
okay, no, I am moving.
Follow the
Perhaps
reef on
you're
the
just
way
more
out.
sober.
Hey, I only had a little catnip. Little. And if temperatures keep up, I might actually have to turn into AC mode rather than just fan.
Cannot comply. Cannot
mess.
Cannot comply. Cannot comply. Cannot comply.
My hard points deployed. Why are my hard points deployed?
Frameshift drive charging.
Unless I hit U instead of J. Or I hit U and J.
Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2,
Also, if you hit a button to use one of your hard points, like a scanner or something like that on your hard point, it will open up your hard points.
What? But a scanner's not a hard point.
It's weird. It is if you're not in Super Cruise. If you're in Super Cruise, it's not. Because you can't deploy hard points in Super Cruise, but you can still use like your D scanner and stuff.
Have people. Compromised navigation beacon. I don't know how I feel about that.
That means it's probably being attacked by pirates, maybe?
I don't want to go there.
Probably not. Not as a cargo ship.
frameshift drive charging.
Aria. Aria? A-R-I-A-Y.
Not immediately sure.
Commander Xios log. Encountered this strange star that looks like a giant yarn ball.
Oh no. Your one weakness, except for all the others.
Oh.
To be fair, that's a joke I most often use about myself. Ah, bullets, my one weakness except for all the others.
Ooh, Kitty could open up that can of worms. Why not? He'll draw traffic. Kinda like how Superman fans just claim that Superman has, like, no weakness.
Yeah, it's a pretty big weakness, you know?
Kryptonite, magic.
Yeah. Kryptonite's the obvious one that, like, even people who've never read a comic in their life or watched a superhero movie know. Like, that's just cultural knowledge. Everybody knows that Superman is weak to kryptonite. But yes, also magic. Also being hit really, 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 really hard. Like, Superman may be invulnerable compared to pretty much anything on Earth, but there are aliens that can, beat him up.
I got in an argument about him being magic. Like, people are always going, he's not weak, he's just not resistant. He's not weak, he has low resistance. Not weak, it just affects him like everyone else that's normal.
He has canonically said, I am weak to magic many, many times. Canonically, Captain Marvel is one of his most dangerous opponents whenever they fight.
Like weird though, because like you would say, as a normal human, we are weak to bullets, right? Bullet can kill us, right?
Yeah.
Magic does the
Well,
same to him.
like, imagine, no, like, imagine someone who is weak to grass. You know, most of it, we step on grass with our bare feet, nothing happens, the grass bends. We're stronger than grass, our skin is tougher than grass can pierce. But imagine somebody who, if they stepped on grass, the blades of grass would immediately spike up into their foot. That's vulnerability. In my opinion, at least. But yeah, canonically, arguably against any third party, Superman is stronger than Captain Marvel. But against each other, canonically, Captain Marvel's got the edge because magic. In a straight up fight, Superman basically has to trick him into like turning back into Billy Batson or something to win.
And I find it weird that like you would make the argument that he's not weak to magic because that would mean you want him to be more of a Mary Sue that has no weaknesses besides the one MacGuffin rock.
Well, I mean, that's precisely what these particular types of fans want. And it's tied into so much other stuff too. Like I don't know. There are people like that who I don't want to say they're not fans because I very firmly believe that we shouldn't gatekeep. But like they're not very knowledgeable fans and they're very belligerent about what they don't know. And it's a certain type of person and unfortunately there are definitely people who are not actual fans who are making these arguments because of bullshit culture war reasons.
Orbital
And there's a
fight
lot of that on the
engaged.
internet. Now, there's not a lot of people doing that on the internet, but there sure is a lot of bots doing that on the internet. Because that is
Yeah.
apparently a thing that certain extremist political positions have decided is worth their time. To have bots go around fighting culture war over pop culture, which I find both ridiculous and frustrating.
But like if they're honest fans of the character, I don't get why
Yes,
you want your character to immune to everything and can just instantly solve every problem. That makes for a boring storyline.
it
Why
does, but
writing the Flash is so fucking difficult.
unless you're Cy Spurrier, who did really, really well on the Flash. But there are people who don't read comics for the storylines. They read comics as power fantasy because they see themselves in the Superman.
Docking request
Um,
granted.
and for those people, they want him to be perfect, and they want him to be uh, to easily solve everything because that means they're perfect and they're easily solving everything. Birds thing. I don't particularly care for that sort of approach, but it definitely does happen. Um, And then there are also people who they simply put so much of their identity into the character to the point where they feel like anything they perceive as an attack on the character is an attack on them. And that's more fraught, I think, because like I kind of get that. Like it's not that they want Superman to be perfect, but they don't want Superman to be attacked because they love Superman, because they identify with Superman. You know, not in a, oh, he's got to be perfect because I identify with him way, but because, like, he's my boy, he's my special guy. You know, like, if somebody comes after, say, Kilowog and starts attacking him. At this point, I'm old enough and mature enough that I don't normally rise to that bait, but I would be lying if I said there wasn't, you know, a desire to defend, you know, knee-jerk defend that character because I love that character so much.
I
It's the
can't
same
believe
thing
people
where,
are
you know,
fans of that poop.
everyone loves Kilowog. If you don't love Kilowog, you're lying. Um, but yeah, like it gets complicated, and this is why, while I definitely do think there are fake fans out there who are not being honest, and not being intellectually honest when they make these debates, like unless there's other signs, it is a hard label to sling around. Because it could also just be that they aren't really particularly media literate, which, you know, is not a crime. Or it could be that they particularly identify with the character and are just feeling vulnerable. Like, it's difficult. This is why I make a very strong distinction between Zack Snyder fans, who are people who love Zack Snyder's movies, and Snyderbots, who are people who don't love Zack Snyder's movies. They just use them as props to attack other people. Like, that's the difference. And there are Snyder fans who might get upset if you criticize Man of Steel or if you criticize Zack Snyder's Justice League or whatever. I understand that. I've been in the fan community for my entire life. I definitely understand it. Don't really have a point to make. They're just using the Snyder movies as props to attack other people.
I
And that
didn't.
goes back to the whole fake fan culture war thing.
I don't like the Dark Grim universe of Batman, but
And that's
I
perfectly fine.
will say that like the Snyder Cut was better just because it was longer and gave more content.
I mean, you're comparing two turds at that point, in my opinion.
I am referring to turds, yes.
There's no question that that Joss Whedon's cut was all over the place and was not a good movie. But I'm not a huge fan of Justice League cut. I felt it was too pretentious. I felt that. So my problem with Zack Snyder, and I want to say there are lots of Zack Snyder movies I like. I like his Watchmen. I like his 300. I love Sucker Punch, despite the problems with Sucker Punch. I think it's a lavish, beautiful movie with amazing action sequences. Like, there are Zack Snyder movies I really like. The issue I have with him writing superheroes specifically is I don't think he gets them. He has
No,
said in
he
an interview.
stated that he doesn't like superhero films.
Well, no, he stated that he loves superhero films, but he's also stated in interviews that he thinks all superheroes should be like Watchmen. Well, if you know Watchmen, you know that Watchmen is a deconstruction. It would be terrible if all superheroes were like Watchmen. That's missing the entire point of Watchmen. Watchmen is looking at the cracks in superheroes and pointing them out. That's why Watchmen is such an amazing comic. But you don't want every superhero to be like Watchmen. That's ridiculous. And yet that is his opinion, as stated in interviews. So I just don't think he quite gets it. I think I think if he made a mindless popcorn action film for his DC stuff, it would have been amazing. I think the problem is he really tried to say something and he really tried to create art, and he's just not fluent enough in the genre to pull that off. Now that's just my opinion. Obviously, I can't. A lot of this is speculation. And he was also obviously very devastated by his daughter's loss, and he's a much different person now than he was back when he was making the movies that I really liked. Which, his daughter died. What are you gonna do? Of course it devastates him. You can't really criticize a man for that. I will say I really don't like how he's been playing into his most toxic fans. I don't think that's wise.
Yeah, I hate that. Also, it reminds me of how Superior Spider-Man. If you never went to, or even bothered going near Twitter while that run was starting, changing, and ending, you would have no problem with the whole comics. The moment you started seeing the tweets about it by the creators and the community, it was just all rage bait.
Well, it's the same thing when they did Secret Empire, if you remember. Secret Empire is the one where they used the Cosmic Cube to change history, so now Captain America was part of Hydra and all that. And the creators were coming out and they're like, well, it's Hydra, they're not Nazis, they're Hydra, it's something entirely different. And, everybody's collectively like, no, Hydra was created by the Red Skull, who was a Nazi, Because there was shock and outrage when Captain America, says "Hail Hydra" because it's Captain America, and he's, saying "Hail Hydra," he may as well be saying, "Heil Hitler," something like that. So there was outrage. That I have no problem with. That's a shocking thing. Shocking things happen in comics all the time. I think the creators made it worse, though, by trying to deny that Hydra was Nazis. Anyway, I'm babbling. That ties into what you were saying about the creators saying things and making it worse.
I remember, the person that was behind it, I forgot his name. He was saying things like, Peter Parker's gone, he's never coming back. This is the run. And
yeah, and it doesn't work for the same reason that killing off Brian in Family Guy doesn't work, because nobody believed for a second that it was going to stay.
Landing complete. Systems offline.
It felt cheap to say that. Now, if you want to say, oh, this is going to be a really interesting story where we have Doc Ock, in Peter's body, think of where we could go with that. Yeah, that sounds awesome. But that's not what they went with. Because it feels cheap when you say things like, oh, the hero's gone forever, when it's very obvious they're not going to be gone forever.
Yeah.
Nobody dies in comics except Uncle Ben. Or sorry, nobody stays dead in comics except Uncle Ben.
Well, they brought Uncle Ben back several times, made him different alternate versions. The one you
alternate
mean
universe
is
versions and stuff like that.
Alfred and Ace.
Alfred's dead currently in DC Comics.
Yeah. Been that way for years now.
Yeah, he's been that way since, 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
I forget exactly when he died. It's been a while. Now, the person who has the longest run of being dead before being brought back is Barry Allen. The original, or not the original, the Silver Age Flash. Because they killed him in 1986 in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he didn't come back until,
On your way out.
I want to say 2008? He was gone for 30 years. Which is a very long time for a big hero like him to stay dead.
Yeah, and it was for the longest time I didn't really realize that he was the original Flash.
Yeah, because it was Wally West. When we grew up, it was Wally West. The Justice League cartoon had Wally West, all the tie-in merch had Wally West.
Frameshift drive charging.
Which makes you wonder, is Alfred gonna come back finally after like 40 years? Beat
So
his
if
record?
you know your Silver Age comics, which I do. Comics are my special interest. You have unlocked lore.
I know, I baited you.
Alfred died before. Alfred died back in the Silver Age, and it was a big deal, and it was supposed to stick. This was part of the same reason that they put Aunt Harriet in 1966 in Batman, because you're gonna have Batman and a 12-year-old boy and an old English butler living together in the same house. That's kind of sus. No, I don't actually think it's kind of sus, but like that was the fear. So they killed off Batman. The Wayne Foundation, which you know the Wayne Foundation, it's Bruce Wayne's major charity, was originally called the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, and it was named that after Alfred died.
I didn't know it was called after him.
It was originally the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation. After Alfred came back, because Alfred did come back, then it was changed to the Wayne Foundation, where it has remained the Wayne Foundation to this day. But this is Silver Age stuff. This is back in the fucking 60s. And Alfred died, and he came back as a villain called the Outsider. And there's a whole lot of things with like memory and amnesia, and all your normal comic book stuff. And eventually they get Alfred back. DC still occasionally uses the Outsider. Now this is different from the Outsiders, which is Batman and the Outsiders, which was always like a sort of like a semi-clandestine group of heroes, normally led by Batman, but not always. That's something entirely different. But the Outsider, or singular, was originally an evil Alfred Pennyworth. And that's how they brought him back from the dead. Listen to that sizzle. That's a good sizzle.
I was gonna say, don't they have a new villain that has like a swirly question mark on their head? But no, I think that's Marvel.
I have been very impressed with DC Comics since Marie James took over, and since the dawn of DC Initiative in 2023. I've been very impressed. I feel like they're going through a sort of a golden age right now, or at least a renaissance right now. A lot of heroes that needed it are going into reconstructions, which I adore. Reconstructions. Reconstructions are when you take the deconstruction of the hero or the character. It doesn't have to be a hero, but you take the deconstruction, you learn from it, and you recreate the original thing that people loved so much, but with the additional knowledge of the deconstruction. And reconstructions are where you get some of the best stuff. And like Superman's been reconstructed several times, so has Batman, so have all the heroes, because comics have been around forever. But they need it every so often. Every so often you just kind of need to step back and say, this guy's kind of moved off from where he's supposed to be. Let's get him back on track, but understanding why people like the other stuff.
I think my favorite alternate Batman was where they had him had a run where he's been in a psych ward the whole time, and everything he's been doing is just act that other people have been paid to do for him.
Yeah. The gag of Alfred hires people to play the crooks.
Yeah.
So that he can process his trauma, which is hilarious.
Imagine
The only problem with that is you can only do it once.
Yeah.
Like you can't do an ongoing comic like that.
current Batman run is interesting. There's two of them, of course, one in Detective Comics and one in Batman, as there always is. Batman has pretty consistently had two comics about him throughout DC's history. He is the most popular superhero. There's really nothing we can do about that. But Detective Comics is being written by Tom Taylor, who I adore his writing. And we've got a Batman in that who currently is dealing with themes of fear and courage and when fear is a good thing. And Batman's responsibility to other people. And Batman being forced to rely on other people, which I always love when Batman's forced to rely on other people. Because he needs that every so often. And then over in Batman, we've got him dealing with the fact that Vandal Savage is currently Gotham's police commissioner. And obviously that's a problem. But they're both sort of reimagining the character. Not strongly reimagining. You know, obviously the same character that he's always been. You know, it's not like Batman fans aren't going to recognize him or anything like that. He's very much still Batman. But they're both looking at different aspects of him that don't get looked at. And I like that. I think that's pretty fun.
Zorgan Peterson, Kilo,
I'm a
uniform.
huge fan
Hello,
of what
it's
Tom
good to
Taylor's
have you
doing in
with us.
Detective Comics.
Welcome to the station,
Kind of on the
Commander.
fence about Batman, but at least
Permission
it's
granted.
interesting.
Set course for
Yeah.
landing pad 09. Automated approach engaged.
I think whenever I do the warping and docking, I might be drowning your audio out. I apologize.
Oh, is it? Okay. Appreciate everyone who's sticking around to get half of a discussion on comic book lore. Since that's obviously why you're here. That was sarcasm, by the way.
Nyx is like half on her belly, on her back, like looking up at me, trying to be all cute.
Oh, so apparently they're doing a team up between Galaxy and Dreamer, and I have just been waiting for that. Apparently that's going to be in Justice League Intergalactic, which is going to be their new Justice League spinoff. And I just want to know who's writing it. I haven't looked that up yet.
Contact confirmed.
I'm sure it's someone.
Initiative spark. Enjoy your
Like-
stay with us.
I hope it's Jadzia Axelrod. Jadzia Axelrod has written all the previous Galaxy stuff. Galaxy's a fun character. And I'm hoping she writes this too, because she is one of my favorite writers that DC has. She did a limited series run on Hawk Girl in 2023 that was spectacular. And also a reconstruction of Kendra Saunders. And you know how I love reconstructions. And Kendra Saunders needed a reconstruction because she's been playing second fiddle to Hawkman for so freaking long.
That's kind of difficult how relationship she's forced to have with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind
Like,
of
I
did the
can
same thing of like Link and Zelda with that.
Well, no, but this is Kendra Saunders, not Shira Hall.
Oh,
Ship is disengaged.
Shira Hall is Carter Hall's wife, or Qatar Hall when they're aliens or whatever. They're the ones who are cursed to reincarnate. Back in, I believe the 90s, it might have been the early aughts, but I think it was the 90s. But they had a thing where
where Shira gets killed off for real. Obviously, it didn't stick. She's back now, but it's actually part of the problem. So she's killed off for real, but the reincarnation cycle has to go on because that's the curse. So Kendra Saunders gets it. And suddenly Kendra Saunders, who has no relationship with Carter Hall, except for, a vague bloodline relation to Shira, is now destined to be with him. And it was an interesting idea of having a Hawk Girl who is pulled to Hawkman because of cosmic destiny, but also really doesn't in any way. And that sort of tension added some interesting things. Unfortunately, they very quickly resolved that tension and put them together. And then the Justice League cartoon came back, and the Justice League cartoon has Shira. And so everybody wanted Shira, So they brought Shira back and quote-unquote freed Kendra from the cycle of reincarnation. But this also means that Kendra's whole purpose as a superheroine is now gone. And she desperately needed a reconstruction, and Jadzia Axelrod did such an amazing job giving her that reconstruction. Where now Kendra feels like her own heroine who is there for her own purposes. She's not just tied to Hawkman. She is Hawk Girl. She is being a superhero for her own reasons. She no longer has any threads of destiny pulling her towards romance with Carter Hall because Shira's back. So she's kind of her own person. And I love it. And it deals with oppression, purpose, and also with beating up interdimensional fox people.
Poor Fox people.
It's just Vulpicula is super evil.
Oh.
Super evil. Galaxy showed up in that too as a supporting character, and that was actually the first time I'd ever read anything with Galaxy in it, although I swiftly went back and read the other Galaxy stuff, because Galaxy is delightful.
Okay, speaking of DC, whatever happened to the Green Lantern cartoon they said they were going to come back with?
They had a Green Lantern cartoon, Green Lantern animated.
Yeah, but there was supposed to be a new one.
Oh yeah, my adventures with Green Lantern. It was going to be set in the same
Yeah.
universe as my adventures with Superman. I don't know. I think it might have gotten superseded by Lanterns, or maybe not. I haven't heard anything about it. Pardon me. Yeah, I really don't know.
Why did they cancel the original Green Lantern one? I forget.
I'm not sure there was a reason. Getting an ongoing DC animated universe that lasts as long as the old DCAU does seems to be an impossible thing right now. So,
Just budgets and greed?
Honestly don't know any of the behind the scenes stuff there. I mostly focus on the story lore. I don't always know the behind the scenes stuff.
I know, like, for the longest time, shows lived or died on merch. You know, the toys didn't sell, goodbye show.
Or if toys did sell, but sold to the wrong demographic, grumble, grumble, Young Justice, grumble, grumble.
What happened there?
Now this I do know about because They put out some interviews, and it's kind of outrageous. Girls liked it. Young Justice was a very, very well-written animated series. I highly recommend it to anyone. It was written by the guy who did Gargoyles.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of storytelling. In a new version of the DC universe where most of the things are similar, but they could throw curveballs at you, so you never really knew what was going to happen.
Like, that was the one that dealt with Gar's depression, right?
Yeah. Like, it was a fantastic show.
Yeah.
And because it wrote the characters with such wonderful emotion and wonderful character, and not just mindlessly beating everything up, girls liked the show. And girls were buying the toys. And they didn't know how to fucking market to girls. So they canceled it. It's literally what happened. According to the behind-the-scenes people bitching.
Peterson, Kilo uniform,
So they canceled a show that quite literally was probably helping a lot of kids deal with things that parents have difficulty talking about, and even psychologists.
Well, not even that. Like, they had a toy demographic. Toys were selling. They just needed to market it to that core demographic. But that wasn't the core demographic that the show was supposed to be aimed at. The core demographic that they wanted the show to be aimed at was young boys. So, like, they canceled. Now, thankfully, first DC streaming and then HBO Max brought it back occasionally for seasons, and I keep hearing rumors that we're going to get a final season, which, fingers crossed, I really hope so. But the original run was canceled because they didn't know how to market toys to girls. And that just did not fit their demographics.
Landing gear deployed.
Confirmed contact. Perform landing checklist. It's good to have you with us, Commander.
Why can I not give any of these power contacts?
Which kind of cargo do you have?
Pain lobbying material.
Lobbying material needs to be, I believe, a undermining system.
Do I find one of those?
So a system that is, you look for a system that is not controlled, or you look for a system that is controlled by a different power.
Oh, not independent.
No, not independent. If it's unoccupied, you're not going to be able to sell that there. You need a system controlled by a different power. And it will say under the, if you go to the power play thing, which is the gear looking thing on the right side of that. No, right side. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's one. Yuri Grom controls the system. Everybody else is undermining. So you could go to that system, for instance, and turn in your lobbying.
That was this. Can't tell. There's
Yeah,
so many
anything. So many lines. Why do you have that many lines? What's going on?
Well, you see, I upgraded my ship. It's all the place I can go and jump to from here.
You must be super zoomed out.
No. Zoomed in, you mean?
Ridiculous. How do you even see anything?
How am I managing to only click on ones that are independent?
I don't understand how you managed to click on anything at all in that mess.
There we go. Jumps. Oh, gross! I just
Three
realized where I
jumps.
was. In
Three
Tesla.
jumps. Three jumps might be. Yeah, 3 jumps might be out of range of your source system.
But,
Because you have to be within the sphere of influence of wherever you got the materials.
oh, for fuck's sakes.
Which I think for lobbing materials would have had to have been a stronghold system. So wherever you got those materials, you want to stay pretty close to that.
Okay. Problem is, everyone close by is unoccupied.
I don't think you're seeing the whole picture.
Man,
Go to your power play thing on the right, on the left, the power play gear icon on the left. The one on the left. Yeah. Yeah. Go to toggle low powers. Because you are only getting ones that are power controlled or unoccupied systems. Ah, there's one. Right next door. Golly. Which means that between the two of us, we could probably fuck up Golly's politics.
Frameshift drive charging.
Dropping 75 pamphlets off. How are we doing on time? I know we gotta go to the other thing.
We're good. It's not even 16.
Oh, did you get around to reading KO?
Yeah, I still got some of the tie-ins to go, but yeah.
Did you manage to get to the part with the wrestler?
Yeah.
Was it everything you wanted?
No.
No?
No.
You're not happy about the comic?
It was Jeremy Adams missing the fucking point.
Aw.
And being a piece of crap. Because Jeremy Adams is a piece of crap. For anyone who's watching, there are writers in comics, obviously, that I don't like. There are writers in comics that anybody doesn't like. Like, everybody has certain writers they don't care for. There's only one writer, currently working regularly in comics, that I want fired and blacklisted and to never work again. And that is Jeremy Adams. And I want this because he's a bigot, because he wrote Hal Jordan as a sex pest and a sexual harasser who comes awfully close to sexual assault, and because as political things in the world tend more towards the right, he keeps getting worse, which means he's obviously pushing the bounds of what he can get away with.
I realized that with that comic. One with the wrestler. I didn't know anything
Omega
about the
Bam
Green
Man.
Lantern one.
Did you read the part about his backstory?
No, all I knew about him was from that one instance recovering.
in the special that Jeremy Adams wrote, we finally get Omega Bam Man's backstory. And Omega Bam Man comes from a matriarchal society where men are discriminated against because if men get power, they become toxic. This is never explained. That is simply used. Literally using the word men become toxic.
Sorgan, Peterson, Kilo, uniform.
But Omega Bam Man
Welcome to the
knew better.
station, Commander. Please fly
But
safe.
Omega Bam Man secretly
Access
trained
denied.
to be a
Recent
strong,
request
not a feminine
within
man,
range of station.
to be a powerful, not a
Permission
feminine man,
authorized. Clear to land at docking
to
bay
be able
02.
to
Automated
do all the
docking
things that a
initiated.
wrestler would need to do. And so they called him toxic and kicked him off his homeworld. Again, this is literally the exact wording that he uses.
I guess the
It is
videos I watched didn't
not
cover that.
subtle. It is not subtle. It is not subtle at all. Then there's what he did to Knockout. Now, this is going a little bit into, fandom, because a lot of people probably don't know who Knockout is. But if you read Secret Six by Gail Simone back in the aughts, which in my opinion is one of the greatest ongoing comic series ever written, and I highly recommend it. It is, in my opinion, the best villain book that's ever been written. Villain book meaning an ongoing series that follows a villain. Or in this case, a group of villains, the Secret Six. It is beautifully written. And it ends with Scandal Savage marrying Knockout and Liana in one of the first recognized stable thruples in comics. Knockout is a former Apocalypton, a former female Fury, who is now on Earth being a supervillain. She and Scandal fall in love. Knockout dies. Scandal falls in love with somebody else. Knockout comes back from the dead. Scandal's like, I don't want to give either of you up. I love you too much. They talk about it. They work it out with communication. Like, this is perfectly written, considering the fact that they're villains. And then they ended up in the stable throuple. In a fairly recent issue of Catwoman, Catwoman seeks Scandal Savage's help, and it confirms that Scandal Savage is still married to both of them. And then Jeremy Adams has Knockout randomly show up as a mindless thug of Darkseid's in the wrestling special. And one line of dialogue implies that she left Scandal.
You are go for departure.
And here's the thing. I will accept that catastrophic things happen to stable relationships in comics. I will not fucking accept a woman-hating piece of shit like Jeremy Adams breaking up a stable lesbian throuple that has existed since the aughts. I will not accept that. Another writer, I might accept it. But not Adams. Because I'm pretty sure he did it because he doesn't like lesbians, and he doesn't like polyamory, and he just wanted to fuck up one of Gail Simone's more beloved characters. Now, the good news is it was only implied by one line, which means it'll be easy for other people to ignore. See also, I forget who did it, but that one guy who implied that Hal Jordan had a threesome with Black Canary and was it Zatanna? I can't remember. And then in Birds of Prey, Gail Simone, again, had a lovely little scene where Black Canary laughs about the time that they were all out drinking and Hal Jordan got so drunk and passed out and was utterly useless and apparently dreamed that he had a threesome with them. Beautiful bit of retconning there. Perfectly in character for everybody involved. Anyway. No, I was not happy with the wrestling special, which sucked because I should have been. But also, I don't think Jeremy Adams understands why we love wrestling. I don't think he gets why we love the sparkly murder ballet, because most of his jokes seem to be like, here's this guy acting like Hulk Hogan, which, yeah, is funny at first, but that really seemed to be like the only bit he had for Omega Bam Man. Is, oh, he calls everyone bro bro, like Hulk Hogan called everyone brother. I was very disappointed in it as a wrestling fan, as a comics fan, and as somebody who truly despises Jeremy Adams.
I guess the channel I was watching that covered it, they were just like trying to retcon away from Adam's mistakes and horrible portrayals, make it
Quite
still
possibly. I
enjoyable.
mean, there is a big chunk of people who like his Green Lantern. I do not understand it. No, actually, I do understand it because when I was younger, when I did not understand the sort of dog whistles that sexes throw out, I too would have missed some of this stuff. Hal Jordan fucking trapping Carol in a private plane so he could harass her is a bit much. But I can see somebody ignoring that if they don't understand what's going on there. And I can see people enjoying Adam's special if they don't understand the explicit anti-feminist dialogue that he's using, right? Because this stuff does require education.
Yeah.
Like, you're not born knowing this stuff. So I can understand why people like him, and I can understand why somebody would just gloss over that, because if it doesn't ding as, oh fuck, he is deliberately being misogynistic here, if that doesn't ping for you, why would you even care about the sequence? You know? Like, that's what a dog whistle is. A dog whistle is something that only people who are in the know can detect, and that ordinary people are supposed to just let pass because they don't realize it's happening. That's true. If you're not a misogynist, and you're also not educated enough in what misogynists do and say to get it, you might not detect it. But once you do, it is fucking everywhere in every comic he writes. And it's getting worse. It used to be just, oh, hey, he's putting a woman in the damsel role again. Well, that's, he seems to do that a lot. He doesn't really have many female characters who are major characters with plot and everything. They mostly seem to be hangers on to men. But, lots of other people do that too. It's a shame, but, it happens. But once you start recognizing the dog whistles, you can't not see them everywhere in his writing. It's just, man. It doesn't help that I also think he's mischaracterizing most of the Green Lanterns pretty badly. Weirdly enough, the one guy he seems to have gotten pretty much right is Kilowog. But then Kilowog's pretty easy to get right. And he even had Kilowog quote unquote die, which was pathetic because literally no superhero in the DC universe would ever think that, oh, he disappeared in a flash as a power battery exploded and then we couldn't find a body. He must be dead. These are superheroes. Nobody would believe that. Nobody would. But apparently everybody did. It just never looked for him, never did anything like that. He shows up later as a brainwashed Yellow Lantern. Fine. Then he comes back. He's still Kilowog. He's still the big lug that we know and love. He's written all right. But, like, the stuff he does with Hal Jordan, the stuff he does with Kyle Rayner, um, the stuff he does with Jon Stewart. Oh my God, I'm pissed at what he did with Jon Stewart. Anyways, it all just, once you start looking at it and once you start seeing it, it's everywhere. You can't avoid it. Like, Tom King has issues with how he writes women, but Tom King does not go out of his way to do misogynistic dog whistles. I think he maybe has some internal work that he might need to do, but I don't think he's going out of his way to write sexist bullshit. And, his Wonder Woman run hasn't been terrible. But Jeremy Adams knows what he's doing. Jeremy Adams follows two kinds of people on social media, and that's other comic industry professionals and Nazis. From a fairly loose definition of Nazi, like extreme right-wing people, like blogosphere types.
The one dog whistle that I do notice is, like, if the only social media you have is Twitter, it kind of raises a flag to me that everything you're saying is engagement bait, and you probably worship
Yeah.
Elon.
Now, granted, this was before Twitter became X.
Yeah.
That his followers were, or that his followers were exposed. But yeah, I agree at this point. If you're still on Twitter, you are either desperately clinging to an audience that is dwindling very rapidly, which I understand. I mean, I'm on Facebook, for crying out loud.
But like, if
Or
you're not trying to go
you're
on other
deliberately trying to
platforms,
engage with the extreme right wing. Well, I mean, like, I will believe that people who have been on Twitter for a long, long time don't want to leave it because it's what they know and it's what they're comfortable with. Switching social media platforms can be scary, especially when it looks like Blue Sky's going to take off really good, but like we're still not 100% sure. I
like
can understand that. I can have space for that.
I'm not saying like
But
everyone
yeah,
who's has an account and is on there is a horrible person. It's that when
yeah,
it's the only thing you have, it raises a red flag to me. Because
I will agree that it
unfortunately,
raises a red flag. It's kind of sus.
you kind of have to have a Twitter account if you're trying to get any kind of emergency notice, Amber Alert, or anything, because it's all tied into that fucking platform.
Yeah.
I can understand having an account. It
Hey,
raises concern.
it's almost like letting private companies get a whole huge chunk of our social infrastructure was a bad
Yeah.
idea. Or something. I'm being I'm being very anti-capitalist this stream.
But like those government systems, they didn't always use Twitter. They had their own websites they would link you to. Then for some reason they all of a sudden just switched to Twitter. Then Twitter forces you to log in, forces you to verify.
One more thing I want to say about the comics is I do not mind right-wing people writing comics. I really don't. Um, Chuck Dixon, back in the day before he kind of went around the bend, wrote many good Batman comics. He is a right winger. Um, Ethan Van Sciver, who is an extremist right winger, wrote some, actually not wrote, but drew some very good Green Lantern comics. Um, the main writer for Justice League International, or Justice League Europe, rather. I'm not even going to say his name because it turned out that he was a pedophile and a lot of other horrible things. Wrote good comics. Terrible, terrible person, wrote good comics. So, like, I don't, I can keep that separate, but not when it is infecting everything that you write. Right? At the point where your comics are full of right wing dog whistles, I
Yeah.
got to draw the line. Because at that point, I can't enjoy it. And at that point, nobody who knows what they're looking at can enjoy it. Like, again, I compare him to Tom King. Like, Tom King, I have some issues with. I think Tom King has some issues with how he writes women. Um, I don't want Tom King to be fired. I'd love for him to maybe examine some of these issues he's got, but I don't want him to be fired because I don't think he's intentionally doing any of that. In fact, I think he really likes Wonder Woman. He's been writing Wonder Woman lately. I think he really likes Wonder Woman. He wrote a very interesting plot line that I don't think was well executed, but God, was it a great idea about her essentially fighting the literal embodiment of the patriarchy. Like, it turns out that America has a secret king called the Sovereign who is very invested in not letting women have any power whatsoever,
Hmm.
and has secretly been there the whole time, which, that's immediately, oh, that's the patriarchy, which is a great concept on paper. I don't think it was executed very well, but it's a great concept. So, like, I don't think Tom King is on any kind of crusade against women. I think he's got some subconscious stuff that might need to be worked out. But that's just speculation on my part. The point is, Tom King is a former CIA agent. He says former. I kind of suspect that maybe he's not former. But, he's a former CIA agent. He's openly admitted that he has tortured people before. He's not a good person. He writes good comics. And I can accept that. But if all of his comics were about how torturing people was good, I wouldn't be able to accept
Yeah.
that. That's the difference.
I think even the CIA have admitted that torture doesn't really work because people will just tell you what you want to hear to get it to stop.
Yeah, they will say whatever they need to get it to stop. There's no real way to verify it, and it's not like they're being clever about it. Like, you can get them to a pain threshold where they no longer really control what they're saying,
Yeah.
but that's geared towards making it stop. It's not geared towards giving accurate information. So they're gonna say whatever they think you want to hear. Um, but that's like a whole other issue. Uh, Regardless of whether or not it works, I don't believe it's a thing we should be doing. But anyway, I was just using that as an example of somebody who I think is a pretty bad person, but who I think writes interesting, at least comics. He's written some very good ones. Um, he's he's written some very good ones starring women. He wrote Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which, as I understand it, is at least partially the basis for the new Supergirl movie coming out. Like, that's Tom King. Tom King writes good stuff, even if I think he's a terrible person. I don't want Tom King to be fired. I want Jeremy Adams to be fired because Jeremy Adams comics are looking more and more like propaganda. And I don't necessarily mind propaganda when it agrees with me, but not when it's misogynistic. Anyway, yeah, that's my whole thing. Only guy currently working in comics regularly that I want fired and blacklisted. Doesn't help that he's screwing up Green Lantern, my favorite franchise. Although Green Lantern Corps, Jeremy Adams started out writing Green Lantern Corps with somebody else, but it was like a mentor mentee thing. And now that guy is taken over full time. Jeremy Adams is not on the book anymore. And since that time, it's been amazing. I'm loving Green Lantern Corps.
On that
They brought
note about Green Lantern, I just want to point out that the original design for the avatar that Servant has here, I did design him wearing a domino mask and the Green Lantern logo on their shirt.
yes, yes. We decided not to go with that because the Green Lantern logo is
Yeah,
trademarked. We did keep the green muscle shirt though, and the green and black combo, which is green, black, and white, is kind of the Green Lantern colors,
and the Space Ghost power gauntlets I gave you.
and the Space Ghost Power Gauntlets, of course. I really like Green Lantern.
Landing authorized. Proceed to landing pad 40. Automated docking
You know, I
assistance.
just realized that there's a distinct lack of yellow in any of our avatars or any of our branding. It's
Of
almost
course,
like
it's the
that's your
color of fear.
weakness.
It's the color of fear. No, yellow is only a weakness for Green Lanterns when they are cadets. Once they learn to overcome their fear, it is no longer a weakness.
That's why it's always Hal's weakness.
Well, it's not Hal's weakness anymore. Um, it was a permanent weakness as long as Parallax was trapped inside the power battery. But Parallax isn't in the power battery anymore. So now it's more like a psychological thing that cadets have to overcome.
I don't know if it's an actual comic strip or not, but I remember this one where Batman has the entire room, his body, everything painted yellow, and he's just sipping lemonade, offering it to Hal.
There are a surprising number of Silver Age Green Lantern villains who were basically, I'm going to cover myself entirely in yellow. Like more than one. There's Goldface. I think, what was his name? Was his name the Shark? It wasn't King Shark. It was somebody different.
They jump
But
the
like,
shark.
it very much did. uh, okay, I want to do one last comic book rant, and then I want to go. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. A lot of people say Green Lanterns are space cops. Hal Jordan says Green Lanterns are space cops. Guy Gardner has occasionally said Green Lanterns are space cops. Green Lanterns are not space cops. So, the key thing about police is that police are a civil group operating within a state, right? Police don't operate outside of U.S. police don't operate outside of U.S. borders. They only operate within the U.S. They are a civil force. They enforce the laws of a state to the people in that state. That's what police do. Now, the Guardians of Oa like to pretend they own the universe, but practically they don't. Occasionally, a planet will request Green Lanterns to come help them, but most of the time, Green Lanterns are going outside of the Guardians' jurisdiction to fight supervillains, to fight, you know, to fight supervillains, to clean up planets, stuff like that, without being invited. And that means they cannot be cops because they are not operating within a state enforcing the laws of that state. They are operating outside of that state. So really, they're more like CIA insurgents, which is worse. So that's my rant. Yeah. Green Lanterns are not space cops, they are worse.
Strange argument to want to make about your favorite group.
Look, you've got to suspend your disbelief with comics. You've got to suspend your disbelief. Batman, the Gotham City Police Force literally has a bat signal on top of their headquarters that they turn on whenever they want Batman to do some extrajudicial beating up of people. Like, you got to suspend disbelief and you got to say, okay, in the real world, this would be horrific fascism. But it's a superhero comic, so we're going to go with it. I make the joke all the time that that Superman's a cop, which I will fully admit I mostly make that joke to get a rise out of certain people. But what I mean by that is most superheroes have to defend the status quo. You know, most superheroes aren't trying to make the world better; they're trying to keep the world the same. And that's not really a good criticism of their characters because it's for a very practical reason. DC and Marvel want new readers to be able to jump on board at any time. They want new readers to recognize the world in their comic book, which means that world has to stay pretty close to our world. So it can't change the status quo. One of the things I love about the Absolute line that's coming out from DC right now is because in the Absolute line, they can and do change the status quo, and it's glorious, and I love it. But that also gives it a time limit. Like the Absolute line will eventually end. DC said this, and it was very obvious from the very beginning. Because you can't do an eternal, ongoing universe that way. So yeah, I will joke about the fact that Superman's a cop because he's really just fighting for the status quo. He's really just fighting to keep things the same. But that's not how Superman is presented in the comics. Superman is presented as someone who is trying to change the world. He's just not allowed to for purely meta reasons. And that's suspension of disbelief. And you have to do that for comics. You have to do that for any fiction, really. Uh, Sorry, you triggered me on my special interest,
I
and
know, I know.
this is your fault. That's what I'm saying. This is all your fault.
My fault or my plan?
I mean, I'm not seeing our viewer count skyrocket based on, you know, all the nerdy comics fans who have come here to
Oh,
listen to me
oh.
rant.
But while you were ranting, Agent Serpent, I was undermining the galaxy here and spreading my own pamphlets and profits everywhere else. Undermining what you were
Fair.
doing last night.
Wait, are you specifically undermining the faction that I'm going with? No, we're part of the same faction in Power Play.
Technically,
We're
I
not
am
undermining anything.
for profit. Because every time I do one of these trips, it undoes what you've been doing.
It does, because the faction that I like the most in our home base system
But it's
really
making me
doesn't
the most
have a
money.
lot of lucrative. Yeah, they really don't offer lucrative missions. Now, if we made them more powerful, they would. It's a long-term thing, Xios. A long-term thing. Anyway, but no, just you doing a trade route to Pali boosts the wolves of whatever, because they are currently the most powerful faction in the system. They de facto own the system, which means the more trade you bring to their system, the more powerful they become. That's one of the things
Yeah.
that works in the background, which makes sense. Trade is good. Anyways, I do have to get going.
Yes.
It is about that time.
And as always, it was me. Serpent. Dios. I failed to do
You,
it. It was me, Barry. That's what I'm saying.
ah, it was. I'm gonna start calling you Aobird.
Oh God.
The most awkward names in comics. Aobird Thawne. I don't even know if that's a real name or not. It probably is. Definitely not one used very much
I
though.
kind of wish they
Anyways.
just called him Yarub.
I like that. Urab.
Yarub
Yrrab.
Nella.
Urab. Yes. Urab Nella. They should have done that with Wally's reverse flash, because Wally's reverse flash thinks in his own twisted way that he's helping Wally. He doesn't hate Wally. Flash must be the best superhero, and so he must be an ever increasing threat of a villain, so that Flash will have to become better to beat him. That is his whole thing.
I feel like I've watched that storyline before on the CW.
Um, yeah. Anyways, I do have to go. Are you staying and streaming more,
I think I'm
Xios?
going to stop streaming.
All right. Well, in that case, thanks everyone for listening to me rant, and you poor people who find the VOD for this. We will be back tomorrow with Voyager. Voyager Across the Unknown. On Sunday with some more Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe on Monday, not sure yet. And then on Tuesday, we have our Pathfinder game. The Pathfinder game, we have a set time for. That will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So, yeah, watch us, follow us, subscribe. Tell
Do
me
all
that
those
my
things.
opinions on comics are objectively correct. You don't have to do that last one. Anyways, I've been Serpent.
I've been Xios. Bye-bye.